Keeping up with fashion trends can often be uncomfortable and expensive, but it's rarely life-threatening, except when it comes to certain hazardous trends from history. These dangerous styles maimed, and sometimes even killed, those daring enough to wear them. Throughout history, fashion has been fraught with peril. Some of the most stylish clothing of the time was crafted with chemicals, now known to be extremely toxic. Or lead-based makeup was so damaging it caused nerve damage in women's wrists, rendering them unable to lift their hands. So let's explore the most deadliest fashion trends throughout history. Before we start, please support my channel by clicking the like and subscribe buttons. Decorative gingivitis. During the Elizabethan era, sugar wasn't just a sweet treat. It was a luxury reserved for the elite. Unlike today, where sugar is abundant and cheap, back then, indulging in it required a hefty purse. Only the wealthiest could savor its sweetness without worrying about the dent it would make in their finances. Unfortunately, dental hygiene wasn't exactly a top priority, and the lack of regular flossing and cleaning meant smiles often lacked the sparkle we're accustomed to today. Despite their less than pearly whites, the Elizabethans weren't fazed by tooth decay. In fact, they turned it into a fashion statement, declaring it hot and flaunting their less than stellar dental hygiene with pride. Some even went to the extent of faking gingivitis by applying a black powder to their teeth, a trend that, unsurprisingly, didn't last long once sugar and toothaches became more widespread. As sugar became more accessible and dental problems more prevalent, the allure of flaunting dental decay faded away. Deadly shine. In the early 1900s, people preferred their shoes to be as shiny as possible. If someone had an older pair or a pair of the wrong color, they could still achieve a polished look with some shoe polish. A popular type of shoe polish at the time contained nitrobenzene, a toxic but highly effective chemical for producing a brilliant shine. When the polish was completely dry, the wearer would generally experience few side effects. However, sometimes people would wear their shoes before the polish had fully dried, leading to severe health issues. The effects of the still wet polish included symptoms like passing out and turning blue. This was due to the active nitrobenzene being absorbed through the skin, causing these serious reactions. The risks were even higher when alcohol was involved, as it amplified the effects of nitrobenzene. It wasn't uncommon for a seemingly healthy person to fall ill or even die suddenly after drinking alcohol at an event while wearing freshly polished shoes. This dangerous combination highlighted the need for caution when using such potent chemicals. Green with arsenic. Check out this green dress. Pretty nice, right? In terms of fashion, absolutely. In terms of safety, not so much. Long before modern colour standards, this bottle green colour was all the rage among Victorians, rivaling even the most popular trends of today. Besides being undeniably attractive, this particular shade of green dye was also undeniably toxic. The secret to achieving that bright jewel tone was arsenic. While arsenic poisoning was a concern for those who wore these green garments, it posed a much greater risk to the garment dyers. This vibrant green was considered so festive and expensive that it was typically reserved for special occasions and worn infrequently. However, the men and women who dyed the cloth and made the dresses were exposed to arsenic far more intensely and regularly. This kind of occupational hazard was not limited to dressmakers. Hatters also suffered from slow poisoning, particularly from the mercury used to give top hats their distinctive shine. These workers often endured severe health issues due to the toxic materials they handled daily, highlighting the dangers faced by those behind the fashion trends of the era. Other dyes. Garishly coloured and brightly patterned socks aren't just popular today. Men in the 1860s also enjoyed socks in a variety of vibrant colours, like pinks, oranges, reds, and violets. However, this fashion trend took a troubling turn when some wearers began to suffer from mysterious chemical burns on their feet, matching the patterns on their socks. The burns were sometimes so severe that the affected individuals couldn't walk, leaving doctors puzzled about the cause. Unlike the predictable effects of arsenic-based green dye or toxic mauve dye made from coal tar, which harmed anyone who wore them, these burns seemed to strike randomly. Some people wearing the same socks for the same duration experienced painful burns, while others had no issues at all. This inconsistency made it difficult for doctors and chemists to pinpoint the exact cause of the injuries. Eventually, chemists discovered that the problem was linked to the dyes, particularly the new red shades used in the socks. The burns were caused by the alkaline compounds in the dyes reacting with human sweat. While most people's sweat is slightly acidic, a small minority have more alkaline sweat. When this alkaline sweat came into contact with the dye, it would dissolve and burn the skin, explaining why only some wearers were affected. What about lead? Makeup trends come and go, and some are more regrettable than others. One of the most unfortunate was the Elizabethan trend for heavy, pale foundation makeup. At that time, people often blended their own makeup, and the preferred choice, hazardous, was made by mixing a white lead compound with vinegar. This mixture led to slow poisoning over time. Queen Elizabeth, who helped popularize this trend, may have suffered from the effects of this toxic makeup. It's believed that her prolonged use of hazardous contributed to her illness and possibly even her death. This tragic consequence highlights the dangers of beauty trends that involve harmful substances. Glowing hair. Starting in 1917, the US Radium Corporation hired several young women to paint the faces of watches with radium-based paint. The factory protocol required the women to moisten their paintbrushes with their lips to bring them to a point, unknowingly exposing them to radium. At the time, radium was not considered dangerous, so the women also used the paint on their nails to make them glow, and even ran some of it through their hair for fun. Within a few years, the effects of radium exposure became tragically clear. Several of the women died, and the surviving ones suffered from severe radium poisoning. The toxicity was so acute that one woman's hair even glowed in the dark, a haunting testament to the dangerous work they had been doing. Combustible combs. Tortoiseshell patterns have been a fashion staple for so long that they are now considered a classic. However, the methods of producing these patterns have changed significantly over time. Originally, tortoiseshell hair accessories were made from actual tortoise shells. In the late 1800s, a new celluloid compound was invented as a substitute for elephant ivory used in billiard sets. Manufacturers soon found other uses for celluloid, including women's hair combs. The new celluloid combs were cheaper and easier to produce, quickly gaining popularity. However, they were also notoriously unstable and highly flammable. These combs did not need direct exposure to a flame to catch fire. Simply being near a heat source was enough to ignite them. This instability led to numerous fires, both in the factories where the combs were made and in the homes of consumers. The problem of combustion was not limited to combs. Various other fashion products made from celluloid, such as buttons, collars, and even dentures, experience similar issues. The widespread use of this material in fashion accessories raised significant safety concerns, highlighting the need for safer manufacturing practices. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please do not forget to support my channel by clicking like and subscribe buttons.